The scream ripped through the cabin like tearing metal. Flight 287 from JFK to LAX had just finished boarding when every head in first class snapped towards seat 2A. A boy, maybe 12, face flushed crimson, thrashed against his seatbelt, screaming so hard the veins in his neck bulged. "Get that kid away from my son." Grant Rose shot up from his leather seat, finger jabbing across the aisle. His voice carried the kind of authority that made flight attendants pause mid-step. 8-year-old Zoe Holloway froze 2 rows back, her worn sneakers half a size too big, fingers clutching a frayed backpack with a broken zipper. She'd been helping her mother settle into their middle seats, the ones they'd saved for months to afford. "She doesn't belong up here," Grant barked, his designer suit catching the overhead lights. "I saw her staring at my son. Kids like that bring problems." The words landed heavy. A businessman glanced up from his laptop, then quickly looked away. An elderly woman in pearls shifted uncomfortably. The flight attendant, name tag reading Maya, approached with practiced calm, but her eyes darted between Grant and Zoe with visible uncertainty. "Sir, please sit down so we can—" "She touched him," Grant interrupted, louder now. "I saw it. Now look at him." Zoe's throat tightened. Her mother's hand found her shoulder, squeezing once. The signal they'd practiced: "Don't cry in public, baby. Don't give them the satisfaction." "I didn't touch anybody," Zoe said, voice barely above a whisper. Grant laughed, sharp, ugly, dismissive. "Then why is my son screaming?" Behind him, Beckett Rowe clawed at his chest, gasping between screams. His designer hoodie, the kind that cost more than Zoe's mother made in a week, was soaked with sweat. The cabin had gone silent except for the boys' screams. Passengers craned their necks. Some pulled out phones. Others pretended to read magazines while watching from the corners of their eyes. Maya, the flight attendant, touched her earpiece. "Captain, we have a situation in first class." The captain's voice crackled through the overhead speakers, clinical and firm. "If this disturbance continues, we may have to delay departure and remove the parties involved." The cabin doors were still open. Everyone knew what that meant. Grant's eyes locked on Zoe with satisfaction. "You heard him. Get off my plane." Zoe felt every eye on her. Hot. Heavy. Judging. Her mother's grip tightened. Then Beckett's scream changed. It dropped an octave, turning hoarse and desperate. His small hands stopped flailing and started clawing, not at the seatbelt anymore, but at his own throat. *** subscribe now. What happens next will leave you speechless. ***. Sir, I need you to sit down. Maya's voice had lost its politeness. "Now." Grant ignored her, still standing in the aisle, blocking Zoe's view of his son. "I want them removed. Both of them. I don't care if we're delayed." A murmur rippled through the cabin. Someone in row 5 muttered agreement. A woman in row 3 nodded. Zoe's mother stood slowly, gathering their bags with trembling hands. "Come on, baby. We'll take another flight." But Zoe wasn't looking at her mother. She was looking past Grant's shoulder, watching Beckett's fingers curl inward at strange angles. His lips were turning pale. His chest heaved in rapid, shallow gasps that didn't seem to bring any air. "That's not anger," Zoe thought. "That's not a tantrum." Maya said to Zoe's mother, "Let me speak with the captain. Just, please sit down for one moment." The plane's engines hummed louder. Through the window, ground crew began removing the jetway. Grant turned back to his son, confidence flickering for the first time. "Beckett, stop this right now. We talked about this. Deep breaths, remember?" But Beckett couldn't hear him. His eyes had gone wide and glassy, fixed on nothing. His hands trembled violently. A businessman 3 rows back stood up. "Hey, is that kid okay? That doesn't look normal." Grant whipped around. "My son is fine. This is a private matter, and it wouldn't be happening if—" The cabin doors sealed with a heavy thud. The sound echoed through first class like a vault closing. Maya spoke into her headset, voice low and urgent. A second flight attendant appeared from the galley, eyes wide. Beckett's screams had dissolved into choking gasps. "Dad," he wheezed, the word barely audible. "Dad, it hurts." Grant dropped into the seat beside his son, gripping his shoulders. "What hurts? Your chest?" Are you? Beckett, look at me. The plane began to taxi, pulling away from the gate with a mechanical groan. No one was getting off now. Zeri's mother pulled her back down into their seat, but Z twisted around, watching. She'd seen this before. Not exactly this, but close enough. The rapid breathing. The hand spasms. The panic that fed itself in a terrible loop. Mama, Zuri whispered, tugging her mother's sleeve. He needs help. Her mother followed her gaze, then looked back at Zeri with worried eyes. Baby, that man just tried to get us thrown off this plane. I know. But his son's gonna pass out if somebody doesn't help him. Soon. Zuri, please. The word carried more weight than it should from an 8-year-old. Ahead, Beckett suddenly went limp. Too silent. Too still. If you're not subscribed yet, you'll want to be for what comes next. Beckett! Grant's shout cracked through the cabin like a whip. He shook his son's shoulders, once, twice, but the boy's head lolled to the side, chin dropping to his chest. Someone screamed from coach. Maya rushed forward, already reaching for the intercom. Is there a doctor on board? We need medical assistance in first class immediately. Silence. The kind that pressed against eardrums. Grant's hands hovered over his son, shaking. His breathing. He's still breathing, right? Someone tell me he's breathing. Zeri was already unbuckling her seatbelt. Baby, no. Her mother grabbed her wrist. That man will blame you if anything happens. You know he will. Zeri met her mother's eyes. In them, she saw 3 years of night shifts at the care facility. 3 years of watching her mother come home exhausted, smelling like antiseptic and sadness, collapsing on their couch still in scrubs. 3 years of Z sitting quietly in the corners of patients' rooms when childcare fell through, coloring in donated books, listening to machines beep and nurses talk in medical shorthand she wasn't supposed to understand but did. Mama, I know what's wrong with him. Her mother's grip loosened. What? His hyperventilating. And those hand spasms, that's carpopedal spasm. His blood's too alkaline from breathing too fast. If he keeps going like this, Ziri's voice dropped. He could have a seizure. Or worse. Her mother stared at her. Where did you learn those words? But there wasn't time to answer. Ziri slipped past her mother and stepped into the aisle. Her 2 big sneakers made soft sounds on the carpet. She was small for 8, easy to overlook, easy to dismiss. She walked toward seat 2A like she was walking toward the principal's office. Scared, but sure. Grant looked up, his face a mess of panic and rage. What are you? Get back to your seat. This is your fault. Sir. Ziri's voice was steady. Calm. The way nurses sounded when patients were panicking. If your son keeps breathing like that, he's gonna pass out. For real this time. He already. Grant stopped, noticing Beckett's chest moving in rapid, shallow jerks. Maya knelt on Beckett's other side, 2 fingers on his wrist. Pulse is rapid. Really rapid. Over 140. It's a panic attack, Ziri said. Not asked. Said. Grant's face darkened. My son does not have panic attacks. He's having a medical emergency because of the stress you people caused. I didn't cause anything. Ziri's voice stayed level, but something hardened in her eyes. But right now, your son needs help. And you're wasting time being angry at me instead of listening. A passenger in row 4 leaned forward. Let her talk, man. Your kid's turning gray. Grant opened his mouth, closed it. Looked at his son. Looked at Ziri. Then, quietly, with his ego crumbling in real time, what do I do? Ziri moved closer. She was short enough that she had to climb onto the armrest to see Beckett properly. His eyelids fluttered. His fingers twitched in those unnatural curls, classic carpopedal spasm, just like Mr. Harrison in room 12 at the care facility, the one time his anxiety meds got mixed up. His breathing too fast, Zuri explained, looking at Maya now, not Grant. His body's getting rid of too much carbon dioxide. That's why his hands are cramping and he passed out. Maya blinked. How do you? My mama's a home health aide. I go with her sometimes. Zuri didn't mention that sometimes meant almost every night. Didn't mention sitting in dim rooms while her mother changed fours and checked vitals. Didn't mention learning medical terms from the nurses who forgot she was there. Didn't mention her grandmother. She never mentioned her grandmother. Okay, Maya said slowly. What do we do? Zuri looked around. Paper bag. Or anything he can breathe into. We need to get his CO2 levels back up. A woman in row 3 thrust a paper bag forward, the kind they gave out for air sickness. Zuri took it, her hands surprisingly steady for a child. She positioned herself near Beckett's face, keeping the bag just below his nose and mouth. Beckett, she said softly. Can you hear me? The boy's eyes cracked open, unfocused and terrified. I'm Zuri. I know you're scared. But I need you to try something with me, okay? Can you breathe with me? Nice and slow. Beckett's gaze found her face. He managed the smallest nod. Good. Watch my hand. Zuri raised her hand slowly. In for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. She lowered it just as slowly. Out for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The cabin had gone completely silent. Every passenger in first class was watching an 8-year-old girl in worn sneakers teach a billionaire's son how to breathe. Most people would have walked away. Subscribe to see why she didn't. 30 seconds felt like 30 minutes. Beckett's breathing hitched and stuttered, fighting against the rhythm Zuri tried to set. His chest jerked in rapid spasms, color draining from his face like water through a sieve. Grant hovered beside them, hands clenched into useless fists. Is it working? Why isn't it working? Give him time, Zuri said quietly, her eyes never leaving Beckett's face. Panic doesn't stop fast. It has to calm down slow. She kept her hand moving. Up, 4 counts. Down, 6 counts. Breathe with me, Beckett. Just watch my hand. Nothing else matters right now. Just my hand and your breath. Maya checked her watch, then Beckett's pulse again. Still too fast. 1:35. A bead of sweat rolled down Zuri's temple. She'd seen this technique work at the care facility, but those were adults. Adults who wanted to calm down. Beckett was 12 and terrified and didn't know her from anywhere. What if it doesn't work? The thought whispered through her mind. What if I'm wrong? But she couldn't be wrong. She'd memorized the symptoms from 3 different incidents. She'd asked the nurses questions until they started quizzing her for fun. She knew this. She had to know this. In for 4, she repeated, softer now, almost a lullaby. 1, 2, 3, 4. Beckett's eyes stayed locked on her hand. Out for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His chest rose. Fell. Rose again. Slower. Not by much. But slower. That's it, Zuri whispered. You're doing it. Keep going. Grant's voice cracked. Beckett, buddy, listen to her. Please. Another 30 seconds crawled past. Beckett's breathing evened out, still fast, but no longer the desperate gasping from before. The paper bag crinkled softly as his breath moved in and out with more control. Color crept back into his face. Not healthy yet, but not gray. Maya checked his pulse again. 120, it's coming down. A collective exhale rippled through the cabin, people who'd been holding their breath without realizing it. Zuri kept the rhythm going for another minute, then slowly lowered her hand. How do you feel? Beckett blinked at her, his voice hoarse and small. Tired. That's normal. Your body just worked really hard. Zuri climbed down from the armrest, her legs shaky now that the adrenaline was fading. Grant stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Not seeing a problem. Not seeing something that didn't belong. Seeing a person. How? He swallowed hard. How did you know what to do? Zuri looked at him for a long moment. The man who'd tried to have her removed from the plane. The man who'd called her a problem. The man whose son was breathing because she'd refused to stay in her seat. My grandma died 2 years ago, Zuri said quietly. She kept telling the doctors she couldn't breathe right. They said she was just anxious. Said she was overreacting. The cabin was silent. She wasn't overreacting, Zuri continued. She had a pulmonary embolism. But nobody listened because, she paused. Because people like her don't get listened to much. Grant's face went pale. So I learned, Zuri finished. I learned everything I could about breathing and panic and what happens when your body forgets how to do the thing it's supposed to do automatically. She looked at Beckett, who was watching her with wide, exhausted eyes. I learned, so maybe next time, somebody would listen. A man in a business suit 4 rows back leaned forward, his voice cutting through the silence like a knife. Grant Rowe, didn't your company lobby against requiring emergency medical kits on domestic flights last year? Grant's head snapped up. Said they were unnecessary costs and regulatory overreach, if I remember the press release correctly. The murmur that spread through the cabin was different this time. Not agreement. Realization. Maya's eyes widened. She looked from Grant to Beckett to the minimal first aid kit mounted on the wall, the one that barely had more than band-aids and aspirin. Grant opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The journalist, because that's clearly what he was, pulled out his phone. I'm Mark Chen, Wall Street Journal. Mr. Rowe, your son just experienced a medical emergency at 35,000 feet. An 8-year-old girl saved his life using basic knowledge and a paper bag. He let that sink in. If she hadn't been here, what would have happened? Where was the medical equipment you said wasn't necessary? Grant's silence was deafening. Beckett looked at his father, confusion crossing his exhausted face. Dad? What's he talking about? The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. Folks, we'll be making an emergency landing in Denver. Medical personnel will meet us at the gate. We apologize for the inconvenience. Zuri turned to walk back to her seat. Grant's hand shot out, catching her wrist, gentle this time, not aggressive. Wait. She looked at his hand, then at his face. I'm sorry, he said, voice breaking. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Thank you for helping him when he couldn't finish. Zuri gently pulled her wrist free. Sorry doesn't fix things, she said softly. But maybe you can. She walked back to her mother, who wrapped her in a tight hug, whispering fierce and proud into her hair. Mark Chen's phone was already up, recording. Mr. Rowe, will you still oppose expanding medical resources on flights? Or does policy change when it's your family at risk? Grant sat frozen in seat 2A, his son breathing steadily beside him, the question hanging in the recycled air. *** If this story made you uncomfortable, good. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when the plane lands. *** The plane banked left, beginning its descent into Denver. Beckett sat quietly in 2A, his breathing still monitored by Maya, who'd pulled up a jump seat beside him. Every 90 seconds, she checked his pulse. Every 2 minutes, she asked him to squeeze her hand. He was stable. But the fear hadn't left his eyes. Grant hadn't moved from his seat. Hadn't spoken. Just stared at his son like he was seeing him for the first time, or maybe seeing what he'd almost lost. Mark Chen, the journalist, had his phone out, typing rapidly. Other passengers whispered, their phones also out, some recording, some texting. The story was already spreading before the plane even landed. Zuri sat with her mother, her head resting against the window, watching clouds scatter beneath them. Her hands still trembled slightly, the adrenaline finally draining away, leaving her exhausted. You did good, baby, her mother whispered, squeezing her hand. Real good. But Zuri didn't feel good. She felt tired. Tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. She kept thinking about her grandmother. About the hospital visits where nurses smiled politely but never quite believed the symptoms. About the doctor who'd patted Grandma's hand and said, "Let's not panic, Mrs. Holloway. Anxiety is common at your age." 3 days later, her grandmother was dead. Pulmonary embolism. Massive. The kind that could have been caught if someone had just listened. Zuri learned every medical term she could after that. Read her mother's textbooks when she was supposed to be sleeping. Watched YouTube videos of EMTs explaining emergency response. Memorized symptoms and treatments like other kids memorized song lyrics. Because maybe, just maybe, if she knew enough, she could stop it from happening to someone else. She never thought that someone would be the son of a man who tried to throw her off a plane. A flight attendant's voice crackled over the intercom. We'll be landing in approximately 12 minutes. Medical personnel are standing by. Beckett looked over his shoulder, searching. His eyes found Ziri. He raised one hand in a small, uncertain wave. Z waved back. Grant noticed. He turned in his seat, looking at Ziri with an expression that held too many things at once: shame, gratitude, disbelief. He stood, moving down the aisle slowly, like a man approaching a judge. He stopped at Ziri's row. May I speak with you?" Ziri's mother stiffened, her arm instinctively protective across her daughter's lap. "Please," Grant added quietly. "I just need to say something." Ziri's mother looked at her daughter. Ziri nodded. Grant crouched in the aisle so he was at eye level with Ziri. Up close, she could see the exhaustion in his face, the way his expensive suit was wrinkled and sweat-stained. "I don't know how to do this," he started. "I've never been good at apologies. My lawyers usually handle them." He took a breath. "What I said to you, what I assumed about you, there's no excuse for that. None. I saw your clothes, your skin, and I decided you were a problem. I didn't see you. I didn't see a child who might be scared on her first flight. I didn't see someone who might have her own story, her own intelligence, her own worth." His voice cracked. "I saw what I wanted to see because it made me feel powerful. And my son almost died because of it." Ziri listened, her face neutral. "You saved my son's life," Grant continued. "And I tried to have you removed from this plane. I can't." He stopped, composing himself. "I can't take that back. But I can tell you that I was wrong. Completely, inexcusably wrong." Silence stretched between them. "Okay," Z said finally. Grant blinked. "Okay. I heard you. You were wrong. You said sorry." Ziri's voice was calm, matter-of-fact. "But sorry doesn't fix what's broken." Grant's face fell. "Your company," Ziri continued, looking him straight in the eyes, "fights against putting good medical equipment on planes. That journalist said so. Is that true?" Grant's mouth opened. Closed. "It's more complicated than, is it true?" "Yes." The word hung there like a confession. "So other people's kids could have emergencies like Beckett just did," Ziri said. "And there wouldn't be enough stuff to help them. Because your company said it costs too much money." Grant had no response. "That's what needs fixing," Ziri said. "Not just saying sorry to me. Fixing the thing that makes this happen to other people." A passenger 3 rows back started clapping. Then another. Then half the cabin joined in, soft at first, then louder. Grant stood slowly, the applause washing over him like judgment. He returned to his seat without another word. Subscribe now, the plane is landing, but this story is far from over. The wheels hit the tarmac with a screech of rubber and a jolt that rattled overhead bins. Through the window, Ziri could see the emergency vehicles, 2 ambulances, a fire truck, airport security vehicles with lights flashing in the gray Denver afternoon. The plane taxied to a remote gate, away from the main terminal. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain announced, "please remain seated. Medical personnel will be boarding shortly." The cabin stayed silent. No one complained about the delay. No one reached for their luggage. They were all watching. The door opened with a mechanical hiss. 2 paramedics entered first, calm and efficient, carrying equipment that looked far more sophisticated than the minimal first aid kit mounted on the cabin wall. Behind them came an airport security supervisor and a woman in a business suit carrying a tablet. Maya guided them to seat 2A. Patient is a 12-year-old male. Experienced severe hyperventilation leading to brief loss of consciousness. Symptoms included carpopedal spasm, tachycardia, and altered mental status. Was stabilized by, she paused, turning to look at Ziri. By that young lady there, using breathing exercises and a paper bag. All eyes turned to Ziri. The lead paramedic, a black woman with graying locks, walked over and knelt beside Ziri's seat. "You did that?" Ziri nodded, suddenly shy with all the attention. "How old are you, sweetheart?" 8. The paramedic's eyebrows rose. 8. And you knew about hyperventilation protocol? My mama's a home health aide. I pay attention. The paramedic smiled, warm, genuine, proud. You probably saved this boy's life, you know that? Another few minutes of hyperventilation like that, he could have had a seizure or cardiac event. She stood, looking at Zoe's mother. You should be very proud. I am, Zoe's mother said, voice thick with emotion. The paramedics checked Beckett's vitals, asked him questions, shone lights in his eyes. After 5 minutes, the lead paramedic nodded. We'll transport as a precaution, run a full cardiac panel and psych eval. But he's stable. Grant stood. I'm going with him. Of course, sir. As they prepared to move Beckett, Mark Chen stepped into the aisle, phone recording. Mr. Rowe, before you go, one question for the record. Grant turned, wary. Your company, Rowe Development Group, lobbied against FAA regulations that would have required enhanced medical equipment on domestic flights under 3 hours. The regulation failed by a narrow margin last October. Do you stand by that position now? The cabin went still. Grant looked at his son, being helped to his feet by paramedics. Looked at Zoe, watching quietly from her seat. Looked at the minimal first aid kit on the wall, the one he'd argued was sufficient. No, he said quietly. No, I don't. Will you reverse your company's position? I'll do more than that. Grant's voice strengthened. I'll personally fund a campaign to get those regulations passed. And I'll push for requirements that go beyond what was originally proposed. Mark's eyes narrowed. That's convenient timing, Mr. Rowe. Your son has an emergency, and suddenly you care about public safety? Grant's face flushed. You're right. It is convenient. It's also the truth. I was wrong. My company was wrong. We prioritized profit over lives, and I didn't see it until, he looked at Beckett. Until it was my life on the line. The woman with the tablet stepped forward. Mr. Rowe, I'm Linda Vasquez, Airport Operations Manager. We'll need to file an incident report. We'll also need statements from witnesses, particularly from, she looked at Zoe. From the young lady who provided assistance. Zoe's mother tensed. We're happy to cooperate, but we have a connecting flight too. We'll make sure you make your connection, Linda interrupted gently. Or we'll book you on the next available flight, first class, airline's expense. Your daughter may have prevented a tragedy today. A passenger from row 7 called out, I recorded the whole thing. From the moment that man, he pointed at Grant, tried to have them kicked off. Another voice, I got it too. Posted it 10 minutes ago. It's already got 50,000 views. Mark Chen smiled grimly. Mr. Rowe, I think you're going to be very famous by the time you get to the hospital. Grant closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, he looked directly at the recording phone. Good, he said. Maybe it'll make other people in positions like mine think twice before they put profits over people. Before they make assumptions about who deserves help and who doesn't. He walked to where Zoe Saturday, thank you. For seeing my son when I was too busy seeing everything else. Then he followed the paramedics off the plane. The cabin remained silent as they watched him go. Mark Chen stopped recording. He looked at Zoe, then at his phone screen, then back at Zoe. Kid, he said, you just changed aviation safety policy. You know that? Zoe shook her head. I just helped somebody breathe. That's what heroes always say. Asterisk asterisk if you think change only happens at the top, you're wrong. Subscribe to see why at asterisk asterisk the deplaning process took 40 minutes. Airport security wanted statements. Linda Vasquez needed documentation. 3 different passengers asked if they could give Zoe their contact information, a lawyer, a journalist, and a woman who ran a youth advocacy nonprofit. Zoe's mother handled them all with polite firmness, protecting her daughter from the sudden attention like a shield. By the time they finally walked through the jetway into the terminal, Zoe felt like she'd been awake for days. The gate area was crowded with delayed passengers from other flights, and at first, no one noticed them. Just a black woman in scrubs and her daughter in worn sneakers, walking through an airport like thousands of others. Then someone recognized them. That's her. A young woman pointed, phone already up. That's the girl from the plane. Heads turned. Phones came out. Within seconds, a small crowd formed. You saved that boy's life. I saw the video, you were so brave. Can I get a picture? Zeri's mother tried to navigate through, but people kept approaching, wanting to touch Zeri's shoulder, shake her hand, tell her how amazing she was. An older black woman pushed through the crowd, tears streaming down her face. She knelt in front of Zeri. Baby, you don't know me. But my grandson has anxiety attacks, bad ones, and nobody at his school knows what to do. They just punish him. But you, her voice broke. You knew. You helped. You showed people that kids like him deserve patience, not punishment. She hugged Zeri, quick and tight, then disappeared back into the crowd before Zeri could respond. A businessman approached Zeri's mother. I'm a producer for Good Morning America. We'd love to have your daughter on the show. We can fly you both to New York, put you up in a hotel. No thank you, Zeri's mother said firmly. What about local news? Just a quick interview. No, can I at least give you my card? Zeri's mother took it without looking at it. We need to make our connection. She guided Zeri through the crowd, ignoring the questions, the requests, the phones recording their every move. They found a quiet corner near their departure gate. Zeri collapsed into a chair, exhausted. Her mother sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. You okay, baby? Zeri nodded, but her eyes were distant. What are you thinking about? Grandma. Her mother's arm tightened. Yeah. If somebody had listened to her, somebody like me, who knew what the signs meant, would she still be here? The questions sat heavy between them. I don't know, her mother said honestly. Maybe. Maybe not. Medicine isn't perfect, and sometimes things happen even when people do everything right. But they didn't do everything right, Zeri said. They didn't listen. No, her mother agreed quietly. They didn't. They sat in silence for a moment, watching planes take off through the terminal windows. You think that man, Mr. Rowe, you think he'll really change things? Z asked. Her mother considered this. I think he'll try. Whether he follows through when the cameras stop rolling and it gets hard and expensive. That's the real test. What if he doesn't? Then we keep fighting. We keep speaking up. We keep being the people who listen when others don't. Her mother kissed the top of Zeri's head. That's all we can do, baby. Be the change we needed when nobody was there to be it for us. Zeri nodded slowly. A text notification lit up her mother's phone. She glanced at it, eyes widening. What? It's from Mrs. Patterson at the care facility. Her mother showed Zeri the screen. She says the video of you helping that boy has 2 million views. News stations are calling the facility trying to find us. Zeri stared at the number. 2 million people had watched her worst moment and her bravest moment all at once. Do you regret it? Her mother asked. Helping him? Zeri thought about Beckett's terrified eyes. About the way his hands had cramped. About how close he'd come to something much worse than embarrassment. No, she said. I don't regret it. Even though his father tried to have us thrown off the plane? Even though. Her mother smiled, sad and proud. That's how I know you're better than most of the people in this world, baby. You help even when it hurts. Their flight was called for boarding. This time, when they approached the gate agent, the woman looked up, recognition flickering across her face. She stopped herself. I saw the video. What you did was incredible. Thank you, Zeri said quietly. The gate agent glanced at their tickets, then at her computer. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. You know what? We have some open seats in first class. How about an upgrade? Airlines courtesy. Zeri's mother started to protest. They couldn't afford the upcharge if there was one, but the gate agent smiled. Completely free. Consider it a thank you for showing us what real courage looks like. She printed new boarding passes and handed them over. As they walked down the jetway, Z whispered, Mama, is it weird that I don't want to sit in first class? Her mother laughed, exhausted and genuine. Baby, after today, you can sit wherever you want. They found their seats, 2C and 2D this time. Zeri sat down, buckled in, and looked out the window at the Denver skyline. Somewhere in the city, Beckett was at a hospital, being checked by doctors who would actually listen. Grant was probably with him, making phone calls, realizing that the world he'd built wasn't as solid as he thought. And somewhere out there, 2 million people were watching a video of an 8-year-old girl teaching a billionaire's son how to breathe. The world isn't fair. But sometimes, someone makes it a little closer. Subscribe if you want to be that someone. Flight 1847 from Denver to Lax was quiet. No screaming. No emergencies. Just the steady drone of engines and the soft conversations of people relieved to be going home. Zeri slept for most of it, her head against her mother's shoulder, exhausted in the way only children who've been forced to be brave can be. When she woke up, they were descending into Los Angeles. The sun was setting, painting the sprawl of highways and buildings in shades of orange and gold. Her mother was scrolling through her phone, a strange expression on her face. "What's wrong?" Zeri asked, rubbing her eyes. "Nothing's wrong, baby. It's just," her mother turned the phone so Zeri could see. The video had 8 million views now. But it wasn't just the view count. It was the comments. Thousands upon thousands of them. This is why we need to listen to kids. I'm an ER nurse and this 8-year-old has better crisis response than some of my colleagues. The way she stayed calm while that man was screaming at her, incredible. Grant Rose should be ashamed. Trying to kick a child off a plane and then needing her to save his son's life. Karma is real. Everyone talking about the girl, but can we talk about how his company lobbied against medical equipment on planes? This is corporate America in a nutshell. My daughter has anxiety attacks at school and the teachers always blame her. I'm showing them this video. She learned this because her grandmother died when doctors didn't listen. Let that sink in. There were hate comments too, people defending Grant, people saying Zeri's mother shouldn't have brought her to work, people finding ways to criticize anything that made them uncomfortable. But the overwhelming tide was clear, the world had seen something it couldn't ignore. Zeri's mother refreshed the page. A new post appeared, from Grant Rose's verified account. It was a picture of Beckett in a hospital bed, smiling tiredly, giving a thumbs up. The caption read, my son is safe thanks to the courage and knowledge of an 8-year-old girl I tried to have removed from our flight. I was wrong in ways I'm still processing. Wrong about her. Wrong about my company's policies. Wrong about what matters. Starting tomorrow, Roe Development Group will be reversing our position on FAA medical equipment regulations and funding a new initiative to expand emergency medical training and resources on all flights. This shouldn't have taken almost losing my son to learn. I'm sorry it did. And to Zeri Holloway, thank you for being the adult in the room when I wasn't. The post had 400,000 likes and climbing. Zeri stared at it. Do you think he means it? I think he means it right now, her mother said carefully. Whether he means it in 6 months when it's expensive and complicated and people forget about the video. That's what we'll have to watch. The plane touched down. As they deplaned, several passengers recognized them and smiled, nodded, offered quiet words of support. No one mobbed them this time. Just acknowledgement. Respect. They made their way through baggage claim and out to the pickup area, where Zeri's aunt was waiting in her old Honda, hazards blinking. Her aunt wrapped Zeri in a hug that lifted her off the ground. You crazy, wonderful child. Do you know the entire family is losing their minds? Your uncle's been sharing that video with everyone at his church. Your cousins are calling you a superhero. Zeri buried her face in her aunt's shoulder. I just helped somebody breathe. And that, her aunt said, pulling back to look at her seriously, is exactly what a superhero does. They do the right thing even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. They drove home through Los Angeles traffic, the radio playing news segments that kept mentioning Zeri's name. It felt surreal. Her life had become a news story while she was just trying to get home. When they pulled up to their apartment building in South Central, a small crowd was waiting. Neighbors. People from the care facility where her mother worked. Mrs. Chen from downstairs with her granddaughter. Mr. Williams from the corner store. They clapped when Zeri got out of the car. Not the overwhelming chaos of the airport. Just the quiet pride of a community that knew how hard it was for people like them to be heard, and how rare it was to see one of their own speaking truth to power on a screen that big. Mrs. Chen handed Ziri a plate of homemade cookies. For our neighborhood hero. Mr. Williams crouched down to Ziri's level. You know what you did, little one? You showed the world that intelligence and courage don't care about how much money you have. You reminded people that the smallest voice in the room can be the truest. Ziri took the cookies, overwhelmed by the attention but also held up by it, the way her community always held its own. That night, after the neighbors left and the apartment grew quiet, Ziri sat at the kitchen table doing homework while her mother made dinner. Her phone, the basic one her mother let her have for emergencies, buzzed. A message from an unknown number. **** Hi. This is Beckett. My dad gave me your number, hope that's okay. I wanted to say thank you. And sorry. Sorry my dad said those things. Sorry you had to help me after he was so awful. But mostly thank you. The doctors said you really did save my life. I don't know how to make this not weird, but thank you. I'll never forget what you did. Ziri stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back, ***, I hope you're feeling better. And I hope your dad really does change things. Not just for you. For everybody. ***, she hit send, then put the phone down and went back to her math homework. 3 months later, the FAA announced new regulations requiring comprehensive emergency medical equipment on all domestic flights, regardless of duration. 6 months later, Grant Rowe testified before Congress in support of expanded medical training for flight attendants, citing his son's experience and the unacceptable gap in aviation medical preparedness. 1 year later, Ziri's mother received a full scholarship fund for Ziri's education, anonymously donated, though they both knew who it was from. Ziri used the time to keep learning. She checked out books from the library on emergency medicine, psychology, crisis intervention. She volunteered at the care facility with her mother when child labor laws allowed it, learning from the nurses who now asked her opinion like a colleague. She never forgot her grandmother. And she never stopped believing that being heard was a right, not a privilege. Sometimes the world decides who belongs where. It decides based on money, skin color, zip code, the quality of your shoes. It decides who gets listened to and who gets dismissed. Who gets believed and who gets questioned. Who gets saved and who gets left behind. But sometimes, not often enough, but sometimes, someone stands up and says, no. Not today. Today we listen to the truth, no matter who speaks it. Today we save a life, even if it belongs to someone who didn't think we mattered. Today we be better than the world that tried to make us small. Ziri Holloway was 8 years old when she taught a plane full of adults that courage doesn't come from power. It comes from choosing to do right when doing nothing would be easier. It comes from seeing someone's humanity even when they refuse to see yours. It comes from being the person you needed when no one else was there. If this story made you uncomfortable, good. The most important stories always do. They force us to look at the systems we built, the assumptions we carry, the voices we've learned to ignore. And they ask us, what are you going to do about it? Ziri answered that question at 35,000 feet with nothing but knowledge, courage, and a paper bag. What's your answer? ***, subscribe. Because stories like this happen every day, and most go unheard. Don't let the next one be silent. Comment below. Have you ever been dismissed, then proven everyone wrong? Or witnessed someone else do it? Share your story. The world needs to hear it. And if you know a young person like Z, someone who sees what adults miss, who cares when it's hard to care, tell them they matter. Because they do. See you in the next story. And remember, the smallest voice in the room can change everything. Just ask Beckett Road ***.